Hey, peace and blessings to you. My name is Jerry B. I am the EntreMusician, and so are you. And I tell you what, so is this young brother that we're presenting to you today. When we talk about the EntreMusician and we talk about doing it all, this man does it all. I don't know what he likes to do better, but musician, producer, arranger, songwriter, recording studio owner, engineer, just like on and on and on, the ultimate EntreMusician. This is Aaron Van Allen. What's going on, man?
What's up, my friend? Hope you're doing well.
How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. We're about to record a Disney character around like 1:30, which is exciting. We do that every now and then. We do like TV and dialogue post here at the studio. It's just one of my many hats, so it's gonna be a busy day.
How do you juggle everything that you do? I mean, because first of all, we got to give love to Vance Anderson. I mean, because he's the one
Vance
who brought us
Anderson.
together, you know.
Yeah,
And Vance is more than a friend; he's more like a mentor, uncle, you know.
yeah.
But
To me, I don't know about you, but to me for sure. Yeah.
definitely for me. And one more thing I'll say about Vance is obviously, you know, our hearts are going out to him. We all lost the great Tony Bennett, you know, and
That's
Vance was
right.
so close to him and was tour manager for 20 years. So our hearts are with Vance and with the Bennett family. But he introduced me to you virtually, and he told me about you saying, here is the ultimate EntreMusician. So when you talk about wearing all of those hats, man, my question is, how do you balance all of the things that you're called to do?
It's, some days it's like pure chaos, and I have to admit I'm a little bit stressed out. And then other days it's like pure serenity. It's like all the different people, the creatives that I come to work with just give me this great feeling. You know what I mean? So it's like such peace and serenity, and just like all these peaceful people who just want to create. Like, I love it. So it's just about managing the schedule, remembering to sleep 8 hours. When I started, because I have my own studio in Philadelphia, and now this is more of like this studio has ownership, but I'm like the chief engineer. I run the studio. And when I began here 2 years ago, I tried to be the engineer who doesn't sleep and the engineer who just like pounds energy drinks and coffee, and I noticed like rings under my eyes all the time, and I wasn't as happy, and I wasn't, even like when you have to make tough decisions, it's like you don't make them as well,
Mm.
or you bring the wrong energy to them. Like you could really address something in the wrong way if you don't sleep those 6 to 8 hours or something. So I think sleep, you remember to sleep, and if you can't get something done in time because you need to get that sleep, just be honest with the person. Tell them like, hey man, this is not coming through in the timeline that I thought. I need another 24 hours because I'm running on fumes. When they get the product, they're happy. So I think it's just better. It's better. You gotta sleep. I try to do it without sleep, and I think that's the key. Um, yeah, sleep and just honesty. Like I tried to be the engineer who and the vocal coach and the whatever, who was like, oh yeah, like I'll fix that up in post for you. Um, and then that's more work for me because I'm gonna be doing all this work in post, and it's just like, wait a minute, you shouldn't have said that. Like, you should have told them, like, hey, man, like, this is just a little, with love, like, this is just a little bit, just a little sloppy, and, like, this is not tenable to like a professional recording. So, honesty and sleep, I say the two right now. So, yeah.
What would you say then about diet? Where does diet work its way into making sure that you're as sharp as you can be?
Man, I don't know. I mean, I have friends who are like professional, you know, bodybuilders who went to school for to be dietitians and stuff like that. So I'm nowhere near on their level, but I just try to. It is what it is, man. Yeah, just like the sleep rule. It's like make sure you sleep no matter what. because like you're no good to anybody if you're like at half capacity because you're a zombie or whatever. So you're no good to anybody if you're at half capacity because you didn't go out and eat. So it's just as long as you eat something that sustains you, like I I know I cheat all the time. It's not about, eating good food all the time. It's like, but if you get your protein, you get your like, I do smoothies to get the greens, man. Like just whatever you can do to try to eat something good. I cheat all the time, but make sure you eat because it's the same thing as the sleep. If you don't have your fuel, man, you're no good to anybody. So
I can dig it. Now, my
Helps me wear the hats.
understanding, I'm sorry.
helps me wear the hats. Yeah, yeah. That's
My understanding is that you began in this industry at a really young age. You want to tell us a little bit about your story?
yeah, man. I'm a musician at birth. My whole family knows how to sing and knows how to strum an acoustic guitar, and most of them, actually all of my immediate family. I have three brothers. I have one older brother, and my two parents. Like they all like wrote catchy little songs since the time I could remember.
Wow.
So when I was like 7 years old, that's when I started sneaking into my dad's closet to grab his guitar. You know what I mean? And he was like, "You're gonna break that thing. You're gonna drop it. Like whatever." And then he was like, "Oh man, like you can play. Like he's let me show you some chords then," because I was playing like one note,
Yeah,
one string at a time,
right.
two fingers to hold that string down because I was a little 7-year old. So, but he was like, "Let me show you a G chord. Let me show you an E minor. Let me show you." So that was really cool. Like when I rebelled and I was defiant, but in that he was like, "Wow, you really want this." So yeah, I've just always and then my brothers, we just push each other. We would write these little tunes, you know what I mean, and they were catchy, and so we developed like what they call pop sensibility, like way early on. You know what I mean? So that's the cool thing.
Man, that's excellent. Then, from that experience, when did you get into recording?
So man, like little kids, like we had like a karaoke machine that had a record button. You put little cassette tapes in it, and I would play acoustic guitar, and my older brother would write these songs, and we'd hit record on the karaoke machine, and then I would sing my harmonies. So it was like one take, you know what I mean? It was like that movie, the Johnny Cash movie with him like one take. He's got one shot. He's got to record it. Him and his band. That was us pretending we were him in the house or whatever. Like, but yeah, and we would just record our little songs, like little love songs. Like we didn't have girlfriends yet. We were recording these little love songs. Like, so yeah, it was like all the way from I can take it from even before that when it was me, sneaking into my dad's closet grabbing the guitar. That was like his little clock radio had a record button and a cassette insert, and then it was the karaoke machine that somebody got us for Christmas, and then it was like, "Oh, mom, dad, can we get like this Tascam 4-track cassette recorder?" And then we had 4 tracks to work with, so that was amazing. And then it was like, "Can I get this Fostex, 8-track, where you can flip the tape over and get 8 tracks?" It's like, and it just kept evolving until like high school when I asked my grandmother. My parents didn't go to college. Like my grandmother's the only one with any money. I was asked my grandmother. I was like, "Can I get Pro Tools?" And she was like, "Ugh." But sure enough, she got me. It's the most expensive thing anybody's ever bought me. But she bought me like one of those early bubble-looking Mac computers and Pro Tools LE, and I started learning how to record in the Pro Tools software, and it's still the industry standard today. So, lot of luck, a lot of blessings right there. Just you gotta, you gotta give respect where it's due for that. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's a beautiful story. Now, with respect to all that's going on in your home and your family, it's becoming the norm that you're doing this. Are you and your brothers going out and performing as well, or are you just pretty much sticking your attention to the recording?
I was doing The most my older brother was doing was like talent shows. The high school had talent shows. The middle schools had talent shows. Like he waited till high school. I was in the talent show sixth grade. You know what I mean? In middle school, playing my acoustic guitar, playing "Time of Your Life" by Green Day, and that was my favorite rock band at the time. Actually, still is. I mean, I love that band. Just a great rock band. But I played "Time of Your Life" for my sixth grade talent show, and everybody went crazy. Like I was the cool kid after that. I couldn't believe it. Like I got so much respect. Like all the girls thought I was cute. It was crazy. You learn an instrument, you start playing music that I was just like the lanky little, I don't know, I was an outcast for sure until then. So sixth grade onward, yeah, I was like a cool kid, and I was in every battle of the bands, and I was in every like, before I even entered high school, uh, I was taking the train over to my buddy's house in Upper Darby, and we started a band. You know what I mean? I had a three-piece band before high school. So when I got into high school, I was the cool kid who was in a band. You know what I mean? And like we were playing shows in like South Philly basements and stuff like that. So like we were already doing it, you know. And then I was band jumping because I was a little more talented than my bandmates. Um, and I say that with love and respect, but I was just advancing musically, you know what I mean? So I got into the next band, and then we got some radio play and stuff like that, while I'm in high school. Like I got a song that's like on the radio, you know, like MMR and like 104.5, and like these are like the major Philadelphia rock stations at the time. So it's like crazy, right? And then like senior year in high school, we headlined the Trocadero Theater, which is like one of our big, it's like a 1,500 person theater. I think it's sold out. You wouldn't believe, like, that band, egos happen, friendships dissolve, and like you think you guys could all just be rock stars on your own. We're like sitting here like Pink Floyd, like all ready to break up and do our own tours. Little do we know, like, yo, man, what we have here is it's actually pretty valuable. And things kind of dissolved from then. So yeah, after high school, the original music went downhill. But
Mm.
to before we get there, I'll just say that I went on to join a bunch of like higher end, like the paying sort of private event bands, cover bands that do clubs, even travel a little bit. Because I found like, oh, people want to give me a couple $100s for this. Like, oh, this is great. You know what I mean? So that's where that went.
What brought you down to South Florida from Philly?
Yes, so I'll say that I had been down here a few times doing some of that club type. They want to pay us, they want to put me up and pay me to like play down here and stuff, do little gigs and stuff. All from we would do an East Coast tour of like just playing party music, like anything from Stevie Wonder to whatever, Lady Gaga. Like we would just play music that people can dance to. You know what I mean? In clubs and in like private events and stuff. All the way down to Key West, all the way up to Maine. You know what I mean? Just like we had an agent who would book us and like knew all these nice places we could play. And I was down here, and I met a girl that I really liked. So then I would spend more time down here, and I I just wanted to be around her. That was like originally the thing, and like we're still best friends to this day. But um, then I was like, oh man, there's cruises that leave out of here. I started doing cruises that left out of Miami and making all kinds of money, and I was really really happy about that. And eventually the pandemic hit, and I was living in Philadelphia, but I was traveling down here quite a lot. And I was like, man, don't I know this guy who like books down here? I had a friend who booked private events down here, and I was like, man, I might be coming down. I'm gonna see if I can get a job, but I would love to do some of your private events, which I still do today, occasionally with him. We mostly over in Naples, which is like the other coast, but that's where Naples. That's where the money is. But I put in a whole bunch of applications for recording studios, and I got asked to come down here by the owner of this studio that I'm in right now, Dogmanic Recording Studios, and yeah, so I'm down here, and like I do all kinds of recording work for all kinds of people, and I occasionally do private events here and there. And I work on my own original music, but it's very kind of, I've got a couple songs on Spotify. I don't take it too seriously, my original music. Not that it's not serious, it's just that, like, I like to sit back and say, wait a minute, what's going on in this industry? And, do I want to give away music for free on Spotify? Like, what's
Sure.
what's the business model? You know what I mean? Like, so I'm a little bit coy about my original music. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a preliminary conversation about some of your thoughts, which I think echo a lot of what entre musicians are thinking about. Especially the latest news within the past 48 hours is the subscriber portion is going up on Spotify. So I think they're going up $1, right, per prescription.
I got that email.
But what happens with that dollar? I mean, how does that translate to the writers, composers, producers, musicians, artists?
My
So
friend.
there's a lot of flavor. So
Yeah, I'll just start my rant. I think, because we were talking about this already, and like I am deeply concerned for the artist, but the artist isn't surprised. By and large, the artist is like, of course, like we've been dealing with this for decades. We've been getting the short end of the stick, and I don't even know if Spotify will always be the thing. I have like 3 songs on Spotify. I have a Patreon page where people can subscribe to my Patreon page. I've got like 20 songs that people can stream on a private platform called by a company called Songbox. And this is originally for like engineers and stuff. I think Bryan Adams, like the famous singer-songwriter, is like he's one of the owners, like top shareholders in this company. And it's so that engineers can share playlists in high resolution with bands and artists who are recording with said engineer, and that engineer can say, yo guys, here's your album, like here's what it sounds like in sequence in high res, and it's encrypted, and you need a password to access it, and the band feels safe because they're paying all this money and they don't want this thing released. I mean, we're talking about, major artists are previewing what their album might sound like on via this platform called Songbox. So I subscribe to Songbox for $30 a month. Man, they're getting a free plug. But I subscribe to them so that I can do playlists of my music and keep it private and for my Patreon subscribers only. You know what I mean? So if you're on Spotify, you're getting 3 of my songs. If you're on my Patreon for $3 a month, mind you, you're getting all my music as it's finished. You know what I mean? I put up songs like as quickly as like once every 2 weeks. I'll just be like, hey, well, I'm a professional engineer, so I'm able to do it relatively easily. And there it is. There's your new song, like 2 weeks from the last one. And there's like, it plays consecutive. Just, they can just play it in their car and just take a ride. And like, it's the same thing as Spotify, but I'm actually making some money off of it. So, that's why I play it pretty coy on these platforms. I have Spotify as a listener. I like to go listen to Spotify, but I'm mindful that like, oh, we got Amazon Music over here, and they're doing pretty good, and they just offered me my favorite podcast that I listen to on Spotify, but with no commercials. And, I already pay the subscription, so I don't get like the commercials. But we all know by now that the podcasters, they do adverts. You know what I mean? Well, that's still in there. And here's Amazon saying, Well, this specific podcast, you won't have to even listen to your podcast to do adverts. We'll take that out. So that everybody's competing. And I don't know, maybe Amazon Music will eventually take the lead. We don't know. I know Spotify is the thing right now. Um, Neither of them wants to pay the artist anything. Spotify was paying 0.004 cents per play, per stream, and that's not okay. You know what I mean? That time that Pharrell made $400 for the most played song on Spotify, that's not okay. So I mean, yeah, I would tell a musician, yeah, start a Patreon. Maybe you'll have 3 subscribers. Maybe only your immediate family will subscribe, but that's money in your pocket every month. You know what I mean? Put some stuff on there that you don't put anywhere else, because that's going to pay a couple of your small bills. So I don't know. I'm very coy about it, and I'm very concerned for the artist.
Yeah. Yes.
Everything.
100% agree. I, like you, I guess the one difference that we have is I'm not a Spotify subscriber, even though I have music through CD Baby and whatnot that, I just check the box, whatever pays. And so I know a lot of the
Yeah.
music is on Spotify by default through CD Baby being the aggregate.
Yeah.
However, I don't, you know, there are some things that are deep convictions for me. And even though Danny Eck is a drummer, as I am, and he started Spotify, I'm like, yo, drummer. But I just think the business model is flawed. I take it to be like a car company that knows they need tires, and the musicians, the artists, are the tire manufacturers. But no, we want to slice the tire manufacturers. But if we don't have tires, the car can't go. We need the
Yeah.
tires. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, I think it's a very flawed business model. And like you, and which is one of the reasons Vance can tell you, we talk about it in our mastermind groups, is just looking for better opportunities for musicians. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to be paid for your work. You are a professional. You call a carpenter, an electrician, a plumber, a contractor, they're going to get paid for their work. I pay a landscaper for our property. That's the deal. He shouldn't be doing the work out there for free. But here I am, a musician, and I have to settle for the 0.004.
Yeah, and if you have your 10,000 hours in, I think it's like Malcolm Gladwell made that comment. He's very vehement about the 10,000 hours. If you have your 10,000 hours in, and you know for sure that you're a professional musician, which I have 10,000 hours in, definitely on guitar, bass, drums, and singing. So then that becomes a trade. You know what I mean? This is a trade, and when nobody wants to pay you what any other trade costs for your trade, then there's a problem. This is the only trade where people don't want to pay you. Like you might want to go play a restaurant, and they might try to see if you want to only play for tips. It's like, this is a trade. Go find the guy who's still needs practice and have them try to just play for tips. You know what I mean? So it's tough. It's tough to try to maintain your integrity, but also go out there and make money when everything's competitive. Wages are competitive, so prices are competitive.
Think about the unity then of musicians. I mean, oftentimes, especially if you're in a smaller town, that this club owner is not the best, that he or she is not operating in integrity, and they're trying to, downplay your craft and your talent.
Yeah.
And you take a stand and you go, no, and you make it public within the musician community that you're a part of, that, this person.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't knock anybody's one way of doing it. You do have to say what you got to say. I do it in a little more covert way. I can tell you a short story. Right before I moved here, man, I was working for an agent who was booking me about 200 gigs out of the year. I mean, I was exhausted. I was tired. I was really getting worked. Doing doubles some nights, like playing a country club in the early evening and then going and playing a bar till close. And he was pocketing way more money than he was telling me. I was getting documents from him that said, oh, well, the gross amount for this was this, and that's why I took this. Well, eventually I got friendly enough with some of the club owners, and the gross amount was much more. And, I didn't just out him on social media, and I didn't even, he had a roster of about 20 guys, and I didn't even call all those guys. I didn't even call every club. I mean, I called a couple club owners that I knew I had a good rapport with, and I said, "Yeah, there's just something weird going on. I'm really not comfortable with it. If you want to book me outside of the agency, that's fine." I, he would have me hire musicians to come in and perform with me that also perform for other musicians on his roster, and I just explained to them, like, yeah, I think there's something going on here, and I'm just like, if you don't hear from me in a while, that was my way of spreading it covertly, just saying like, yeah, if you're wondering what's up with me, I'm a little wary right now. I don't know. And then I took him to court and I won. So that's the thing. So, I kept my mouth pretty tight-lipped until I could find counsel, and he decided this is a good case, and yeah, I'll only take some money if you win. And I took the agent to court, and I won. So, or he had to settle. He was. We had one hearing in front of arbiters, and he was getting flogged, man. He was really getting embarrassed in front of the arbiters, and so the arbiter said, "I strongly suggest you walk outside with this young gentleman and offer him a settlement."
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, I'm not a fan for doing the social media thing or splashing dirt like that, but I am a supporter of, if I see that you are in trouble and you're about to walk into the fire, I will tell you directly. I'm not as covert.
Yeah.
Like, yo, this is not going to be a good thing for you, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a little.
Yeah, we need to do that. Like, I wish if I had you in that situation in Philadelphia, I know you would have said something, and I could have avoided that whole disaster, because it would have been worth it. It would have been more worth it than whatever money I recouped on the back end. It wasn't. You know what I mean? I might have recouped some of my hidden earnings or whatever, but that's about it. So, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
as long as it's effective, I mean, there's different methodologies, I guess, to get to the same end result. But, again, being in a small town and knowing the majority of the musicians, it's just like, this is not going to work for you. This is not going to be in your best interest.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think, if there were more alignment, because you use the word competition, and it's like, wow,
Yeah.
let's be in collaboration. Sure, you're in another band. Sure, you play rock, I play jazz, he plays country and funk or whatever, but really we're all in this together. And you were
Yeah.
talking about the shutdown that happened in 2020. Again, these were the legs, the diapers, the pampers of the entre musician, because no matter who you were, if you had 12 Grammys or you were just dropping your first EP, we're all at this red light together. We better figure it out when the light turns green. Now, obviously, those with the Grammys and the money and the connections, they're going to click along at a faster pace. But while we're all here at the red light, how do we do this? How do we develop this collaboration that's going to help us garner what we need to garner with our 10,000 hours?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. About Dogmatic Studios and your own work. We're getting the videos on this and that side about Dolby Atmos. How are you all approaching Dolby Atmos? Do you have any views on it, or anything you want to
I
offer in your?
I can tell you that we've got some fresh paint in a room back here that was just our B room, and that fresh paint is because all new equipment is being brought in and Dolby Atmos will be installed. So, and that's not my wish. You know what I mean? I have deep concerns for it's funny, man. I'm glad the owner's not here, because he would be lunching on me right now. He'd be like, yeah.
He's gonna
but
watch this podcast, so go for it.
Yeah, he can watch this podcast and see. But yeah, I mean, I don't I don't see Dolby Atmos being very lucrative. I try to be like, you know what I mean? Like I love music, I love production, but at the end of the day, I need to listen to or watch something else to motivate me and it's like my downtime, you know what I mean? And on my downtime, you know what I mean? Like on my way here, I was listening to Warren Buffett. You know what I mean? Like so I mean I and he's all about, it you have to believe in a business. You have to believe in whatever you're about to invest in. I don't believe in Dolby Atmos. And that's just my opinion. And that's why I can't endorse it to any other engineer. I'm happy to take my stereo mixes that I do for people and take them over into that room. And I'm fortunate for that reason because I'm going to get the opportunity to go take them into that room and expand them into Dolby Atmos. I'll tell you how it goes after the fact. But I like to listen in stereo. I tried Apple's spatial audio. I wasn't a fan of the new earbuds and how it sounded. I'm sure, they've got Oculus, they've got all these new things happening. There are caveats where it's like, I think video gamers are going to have a lot of fun with Dolby Atmos sound. How many video game companies are going to hire us to try to mix video game audio? I 1% to 0%, in my opinion, is what we're gonna get. I mean, they might try to rent our B room and say, our video game company has an audio engineer. We'd love to rent your Atmos room. I see that angle, you know, to our owner. I see that. It's like, okay, I might want to rent the space out to some people, but it's like, how many of them are right here in this specific area in South Florida? Then there's that problem. You know what I mean? They have to all be in this location and want to rent it because there's going to be Dolby Atmos studios popping up everywhere. So I don't see how it could be lucrative for any studio, no matter what your budget, to just spend $10,000 to $15,000 installing Atmos in a room, unless you're one of the big dogs. You know what I mean? One like you're out in LA, you already do this work for video game. You're already a video game audio editor. You're already a surround sound audio editor. Okay, then you have an excuse like, yeah, I'm gonna make this investment. I don't see it, man. I don't see it at all. So, but if you have the capital, have some fun. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your opinion on that. I was down in Houston at a conference and went out to Katy, Texas, just outside to a studio out there, which had Dolby Atmos, and was able to sit in the sweet spot and listen to some stuff that I've heard since my childhood. Heard it in a totally different dimension, and I have been on the tightrope of whether I should, take some of my songs and kind of convert them over. So I'm always asking any engineer. So I'm not putting you on the spot. What
No, I,
he or
I
she
think
thinks about it.
like I really, people think I'm old and crabby because I don't usually like a lot of new music or whatever. But I really love the music of Harry Styles actually, and it's like he released a live album recently that was mixed for Dolby Atmos. So imagine that. I mean, like you get to, if you've got a nice home theater system that has Dolby Atmos, like if you splurged for a home theater system or you want to go to a movie theater, like maybe there's some rare little boutique theaters that, I'm just making stuff up, that might air live concerts or whatever. It's like, that would be awesome. That would be a lot of fun for me to go and see Harry Styles live with overhead sound as well as surround sound. That'd be so cool. You would feel like I'm there. But that's just it. It's fun. It's fun. And it's fun. And it's all about, can I afford this level of fun? You know what I mean? I, you know, I don't want to go into that. This just came into my head, so I'm not trying to go into the tragedy of that submersible that took place. But like those people could afford to go down and see the Titanic. That's a level of fun. I mean, it would be amazing to actually go down there and see the wreckage of the Titanic. Imagine that fun. What did that cost? That cost so much. So much. And, you know, so there's a scale. There's like that's like beyond. Or you got, people going into space, Bezos going into space and all these people wanting to get. That's a level of fun, but it comes at a cost. And like, yes, that's way up here on the scale, but it's like down here and like we're all having a lot of fun right here. So that's the thing. It's like I don't so okay, you want to have some fun, maybe here, I guess. That's just I don't get it. That little step up. But that's just me and for me I would love to just check if I think about what would I pay to hear an Atmos recording. You know what I would pay, man? I wouldn't pay a dime more than I'm already paying to go and hear an Atmos recording. So if that works out in their business model, that people get it for free, by all means do it. But me as a consumer, I really don't think I would pay a dime over what I'm already paying to go and listen. So,
Man, I appreciate that. And no, you don't sound like a crabby old man to me. But I do have another
It's all right.
I do have another technical question because just hot off the press, I guess they're about maybe 18 months in now, is Steven Slate's VSX headphones. As an engineer, what do you think about that? Have you tried them? What do you think?
you have to inform me a little bit more about them because I haven't looked into these. Like what are they supposed to show you as far as spectrum?
Yeah, so they are headphones that you purchase, and you purchase them with the software that kind of virtually puts you into these different rooms, different spaces, and environments, so that when you're mixing, if you are, not fortunate enough to be in Dogmanic Studios, they model
So it's
Dogmanic
yeah.
Studios,
So it
so
tailors
you
the
can,
sound as
yeah,
if you're in another room.
Some people that might be really beneficial. There's been other plugins that like you turn on this plugin and it's supposed to give you the sound of like what it sounds like if you were playing it in a car. I thought that was interesting. It's all about like, does it help you? If it helps you, go for it, man. You got to try it. Hopefully try them out. Uh, what was the thing that everybody was doing? It was like changing the EQ based on their room. It was like analyzing it. There was like a plugin or like a software suite, and it's not ringing a bell right now, but people could use it to dial in how their rooms sound. Like it would change the sound of what's coming out of your studio monitors based on some measurements it made on your room, your non-treated room. I thought that was pretty cool. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um, Something I do as a mixer and a mastering engineer, when I'm mixing, there's a lot of bass because I'm right up here. The tweeters of my studio monitors are pointed right at my ears, which is quite a lot of treble, and it can be quite painful if I'm listening for 2, maybe 4 hours doing a mix. And a great mix takes an 8-hour day, in my opinion. Uh, I don't know. There's AI and stuff too, so maybe who knows? It depends on your source material. But anyway, you got these tweeters that are pointing the treble right at your ear, so you can hear everything right. So I'm loading up the bass, man, because it's alleviating the pain from all that treble. I got to listen to this thing for 4 hours. The listener's only going to listen to this song for 3 minutes. They can handle that amount of treble for 3 minutes. I can't handle it for 4 hours. So I got to boost up the bass. And that's just for mixing. I'm not going to leave the bass there. That's way too much bass. It'll like, you try to put it in like a small little Bose speaker or something, like it's going to sound terrible. It's going to sound like it's kind of coughing and just it can't handle that amount of bass.
Right.
So later, I back the bass off. I compensate. It's a little trick I do. I just back the bass off like 4 dB, like a low shelf type of thing. Or I go stand in the back of the room and I listen to it, and then I come back, turn it down, go back, stand in the back of the room, then I come back. It's the same concept. So if those headphones provide that concept to you, and it's a huge help, and you don't have to get up a million times or go to the car a million times,
Right.
hey man, I'm all for it. So yeah, you got to play tricks on yourself. It's like a sonic little trick, psycho sonic trick that you play on yourself. So
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, back to you and your career. Thanks for answering the technical questions, but I have three more for you, and
Oh, please,
you
please.
can answer them, collectively or take them one at a time. But interesting because of the myriad of experiences that you've had as an engineer, performer, songwriter, musician. Uh, what do you think the most important lesson is that you've learned as you look in the rearview mirror of your life? What do you think is the greatest challenge that you've had to overcome, and what is the greatest victory that you've experienced?
so lesson, challenge, victory. Let me keep those in my mind so I don't forget.
Absolutely.
I, I'm gonna for once in my life, I think I'm in my 30s now, so I think I'm finally beginning to be a bit at least a little bit humble, and I'm still learning. Like I gotta remember that I'm a student. I'm always learning, so I don't want to get up on a pedestal and be like, oh yeah, until you get here, man. Like you just gotta this and that. No, man, I'm not there. In my in my opinion, I'm not there. So like I'm always learning, but I learned many great lessons. Um, Perseverance is a good lesson. It's like it can be good to be stubborn sometimes. Because like my older brother went to college and he wanted to do that, and like my parents didn't go to college. He wanted to be the first person to do that, and I'm still super proud of him. But I was kind of the black sheep, and I was very stubborn, but I had this perseverance, and I was already a natural at musical instruments and singing and stuff. So well, not even singing. I mean, my younger brother, from the moment he could open his mouth, he sounded like Mariah Carey. It was insane. You remember that Emotions album that Mariah Carey had? My parents were playing that around the house. He opened his mouth, he could just sing that title track, Emotions. He sound. My mom came into the room like 3 years after me singing, and she said, "Honey, you're actually singing." So I mean, that's perseverance right there. Like your little brother can do it when he opens his mouth. Like you have to persevere, and like you have to be stubborn, because I wasn't a natural singer, but I became one. You know what I mean? And now I coach singers and stuff like that. And then I persevered with the recording thing. The recording thing was took the most stubborn mindset ever. You could call it stubbornness, you could call it perseverance. You pick. I don't know, man. But I was sitting in my parents' house for way too long. My brother had an apartment, this and that. Like I was still at home because I wanted to learn how to make good recordings, and I needed to buy this and buy that, and like don't overspend, because that was the lesson as well. I made the mistake of like overspending and buying too many things, thinking it was going to get me the sound. It wasn't it. I had to train my ears. Uh, so don't do that. Like that's a lesson. There's a lesson in perseverance and it being okay to be stubborn in some ways, and as long as your heart is in it, if you're actually working towards something that might be valuable, like and your heart is in it, like yeah, you should be stubborn, you should persevere. Because I went out to the car and back to the house, and out to the car and back to the house so many times that I broke down in tears. Like, how do I make it sound like my favorite records? It's not even close. You know what I mean? Then I get on the highway in the car. I think it sounds pretty good in the car. I get on the highway and I'm like, wait, it sounds like trash when I'm moving and I can hear things moving around me. It's not clear. So that frustrated me, but I just persevered, man. And now I don't even worry about it. People are like, well, is it going to be balanced? And I'm like, yeah, you go check it. Go check it in the car. You tell me if it's balanced. It's balanced. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. And like, I'm, you know, that was a victory, you know what I mean? So we can call that a victory as well, the perseverance. And the challenge is like, I'm being challenged right now, you know what I mean? The challenge is economical right now because I'm sitting here in a professional recording studio. This is gonna make some noise. I like look at all this equipment. Like there's tons more. This building. This was a $500,000 build. You know what I mean? I'm sitting here in a recording studio. So let me just tell you, like the challenges don't stop, and I'm being challenged right now. I mean, my new thing is, and this was the funny thing I wanted to tell you about my website is like, you go on that website, you check that first video. It's got me in the studio. It's got some nice fancy pictures of studio stuff, and I'm messing with this equipment. There's going to be a caption under there shortly. I just haven't designed it yet. But it's going to say, you know, because there's a bunch of professional recordings playing as the slideshow is happening. And it's going to say, what do all these recordings have in common? That's the question. You know what it is? They were all done at home. It's a trick. That's what that video is. So everybody go to aaronvanallen.com. You check that first video. You look at all the fancy studio photos, and you listen to those professional recordings. Gotcha. It was all done at home. It was all done at home. So I'm being challenged where I have to give away at least 2/3 of the profits that are made here to the, you know, God bless him, he's a great man, to the studio owner and to the overhead of the studio. But it's like, I can do this at home. So I make money at home doing it as well. And like, now I'm going to start, you know, taking the equipment to the band's rehearsal spaces and this and that. And like, because it's like, look, if you thought that music on the website was studio music, then that's it. I've already sold myself. Let me just come and record you, and I will make it sound just like that. So that's the challenge right now is taking the studio to them, and that's also the goal, you know, you know, studios will always have their place, but the studio is dying. The studio is dead in my eyes, you know what I mean? Like, we're doing this Atmos thing because the studio here has the capital to do it, and it's going to be fun. Like I said, it's fun, but like at what cost? It's whatever is on your scale, you know, whatever you're willing to pay for. But yeah, the challenge is economical, and I think that challenge is for everyone. Like, I'm not rich, I'm not set up, you know what I mean? I don't feel like I'm just there. I'm making what like somebody out of college might make. You know, it's so messed up right now. Like, you know, and I'm not trying to discourage people. You can get here in the studio in a $500,000 studio. You can become chief engineer. Like, it'll pay your bills. It'll pay your rent. It'll afford you your meals. But in today's economy, there's still some insecurity there. So, I mean, the challenge is having some ingenuity and having some business mindset, which is why I told you I was listening to Warren Buffett on the way here this morning. So it's like, that's the new challenge is getting a better hold on the economics of it all, because, you know, you are your best bet, and you are the one who has to protect you. You know what I mean? Like, if you're in your 30s and you're a grown man and you're out here, you know, you moved to a new state, let's say, like me, it's like, you got to protect you, and you got to protect your earnings, and you got to try to maximize earnings. And as long as you're being respectful and everything's with love and everything, you know, that's the challenge right now. It's like making sure you're paid what you're worth for your trade, which right now we're having to make concessions, let's be honest, because it's so competitive out there, and interest rates keep going up, inflation keeps going up. People don't want to pay for anything, you know. So find a way. The way that I've found is oh wait, I can still make pro recordings. I could just, go to their houses, go to their rehearsal spots, and just that way I make the totality of the earnings, minus the time minus whatever I paid in gas or whatever. If there's a piece of gear I bought to do this, there's ways, you know what I mean? So there's ways of doing it. That's the challenge. My challenge is everybody's challenge. I feel everyone's pain.
That's what's up, man. Well, I certainly appreciate you spending your time with me. I know
Of
you have
course, man.
a session on the horizon. I really do thank the Lord for Vance making this introduction. So I know that this won't be our last conversation.
Yeah, I could go on forever. I know, man. If you'll listen, I could go on forever. So and I there's always going to be new stuff on my website and on my Patreon and all that stuff. So yeah,
Well,
Yeah, I'm excited.
definitely visit AaronVanAllen.com. You can see it right at the corner. If you're listening, Aaron Van Allen, just like you hear it, but ALLEN, not ALAN.com. And check him out. Check out that wonderful music that is being produced and recorded in a home studio environment. So that is the trick.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful for you, man. I'm grateful for you and your heart for perseverance. I'm grateful for your stubbornness. I'm grateful for you continuing to be a student, as you said, and to be humble enough to realize that, we're still all out here trying to grow and trying to expand what we've been given so that, we can make a living for ourselves, but most of all, make an impression and leave a legacy for others. So that's what you're doing, bro.
Man, I'm grateful for you too, and for platforms like this where we get to talk about it, so that everybody's not in the dark. So yeah, thanks for doing what you're doing. This is great.
Thank you. Thank you very much, man. Well, look, I'll see you on the next end, whenever that next conversation will be. Come on and drop by the EntreMusician community one Sunday night and hang out with Vance and I as we do
That
that.
sounds good to me. That sounds good.
Absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
my friend.
Well, that was Aaron Van Allen. Cool, cool, cool brother, right? I hope you learned a lot. I hope that from his experiences that pours into you. So whatever you're trying to do, whether you're on the performing end, recording end, production end, you heard it straight from someone who's doing it on a daily basis. I always appreciate you tuning in, whether you're watching or listening. Don't forget to pick up a copy of my best-selling book. It's called The Path of the EntreMusician: 9 Keys to Unlock Your Mindset, Discipline, and Focus. It continues to sell. I'm grateful for those of you who are saying, yo, Jerry, I got your book in my gig bag. I appreciate it. You get your copy at Amazon today. My name is Jerry B. That was Aaron Van Allen. Look him up at AaronVanAllen.com. We are EntreMusicians, but the most important thing is so are you. We will see you again next time. God bless.